Okay, in this video we'll see how to add vendor and do the basic and detailed configuration of vendors. So let's go there. Let's go to accounts and I'll click on vendors. Okay, here we have this page. We have basic information of our vendor like account ID, name, today usage, how much balance you have used for this vendor, okay, and balance, how much is the remaining balance you have on this vendor, okay. Our limit, here you can define if you are getting route from your vendor on credit, then you can define the value. For example, you have requested your vendor to give you $500 credit, so you will enter the amount here and you will click this button. Now once this balance is finished, it will automatically go into negative up to minus $500, okay. Even though your overdraft limit is increasing above $500, it will keep continue on balance. It will not stop sending call to the vendor. So in customers, whereas this option is different, in customers, if this overdraft limit is over, then customer calls will be stopped, whereas on vendor this option is different. Even if your balance is going negative and is going above $500 in negative, still your calls will be passed to the vendor, okay. Next we have billing rate. If you want to change the billing rate, then you can simply click here and select another group. I'm just going to close it. Then we have routing gateway. I'll go there, and here we have account or vendor account to which this routing gateway is associated with. That name is showing here, okay. The gateway name, the prefix, like which prefix we want to send to this vendor on this routing gateway, you can define here, okay. For example, let's click here. Now let me take an example. Now I assume that this vendor is providing me different routes. Let me say this vendor is also providing me route for United States, so I'll add comma and I will enter the prefix of United States and the country code, which is 100 is the prefix and 1 is the country code. Now this part is very important to configure correctly. On this section you must enter the exact prefix that you have entered in the rates, okay. Now for example, you have entered, let's say 443, or let me take another example. I'll take Australia country code 0061, for example. 00 is the prefix and country code is 61 for Australia. Now let's take an example that you have entered this 0061 on routing prefix and you don't have this prefix in your rates. then calls will be failed. They won't be passed to this vendor account. Similarly, I assume that we have entered 0061 in rates, but we did not enter 0061 on area prefix, on vendor prefix. Again, these calls will be failed. Okay, so I'll hit submit. Now I have entered multiple prefix on this routing gateway. By clicking view all, I can click all multiple prefix that I have assigned to this specific routing gateway. Let me close it. The next option is capacity. Again, capacity is how much concurrent calls you're allowed to send to this vendor. You can change the value by clicking on this 32. I'll make it 64. Okay, now this option will be changed. Let's finish this. Okay, now you will be able to send 64 concurrent calls to this specified routing gateway. Okay, now if you want to block the calls on this routing gateway, you can simply bar all calls. Once you have done this, it will all calls will be stopped, and simply I'm not going to log this account, so I'll close it. Priority is something that if you have multiple routing gateway, let me give you example. For example, you have two vendors who are providing you UK route, okay, 44, and you want to set the priority that this routing gateway should go on first priority, and the second priority you can set on second routing gateway. Okay, now I'll simply skip this option. I'll go to routing gateway and I'll add more vendors, and I'll show you how this option will work. IP address, you can assign the IP address here for your vendor's routing gateway. Keep this in mind. In routing gateway, you can define one IP address to multiple vendors, whereas in customers you cannot assign one mapping gateway IP address to different customers. So this is the difference between IP addresses in mapping and routing gateway. I'll close it. Routing rules. Okay, let's go there. I'm going to give you example that my customers are sending me calls with 44, but my vendor accept call with prefix 551. Now what I'll do, I will replace 44 prefix which my clients are sending, and I will replace with this value with 551, and at the end I need to add 44. Now next, if I want to add more than one routing rules, I will add a comma and I will add next prefix. Now let's take an example. For United States, my customers are sending me calls with 001, whereas my vendor required me to send calls to United States with starting prefix of 222. So I have to add 222 and at the end 1. Now in this example, I created a prefix for my customer 00, whereas the country code is 1. But my vendor required me to send prefix starting with triple two, and at the end he required me to send the country code, which is 1. So I have added with this settings. Now I hope this part is clear. Now let me give you example where usually admin and managers do the mistakes. Let me remove this part. Okay, now this is okay. Now what usually admins do the mistake? They add their customers prefix and they add their vendor prefix, but they don't add the country code. Now in this with this settings, your vendor will receive the calls with 551, and at the end there won't be any country code, so calls will be failed. So this is very important to add the country code as well. Okay, so I'm going to hit submit. Okay, next option is quality routing. Okay, before we go to this part, let me add one more vendor so we can have balanced mapping, quality gateway settings on different vendors. I'm going to add one more vendor. I'll take example that this vendor is providing me less rate. I'll name it cheap, or let me change the name, less rates vendor. I'll add balance of $50, and I also need to create the rate group for this vendor. Right now I'll select this one and let me submit. Now I will go back to rate groups and add rate for this vendor. I'll again name it with less rates vendor. I just made up this name. Okay, so I'll click submit. Now I'm going to add rates in this group. I'll go to rate option, add rate. I'll simply enter 441 international. Now since this vendor is providing me less rate, so I'll make it 0.002 cent per minute, and billing cycle is 1 by 1. I'll hit submit. Now the rate is created. I'm not going to add all the prefix. This is just a demo, so I have added only one which I required for this test. I'll go to vendor, then I will select the correct rate group for this vendor. Okay, here is it, less rates vendor. Okay, now I will go to routing gateway and add the server IP address for this vendor. Click. I'll select the vendor name. Now keep in mind that if you need to select, then you can select this option, otherwise you can skip it. But if you'll skip it, then you won't be able to calculate the profit and loss on this vendor, and secondly, you won't be able to calculate the least cost routing of your vendor. So these are the two options that you will miss if you won't select this option. Since I am going to select it, so I will select the vendor account. I will name it less vendor gateway. Server IP, I am going to enter the server IP address for this vendor. Rest, capacity, priority, I will leave it on default options. Here I will add the country code where currently we are sending text calls. Okay, and I'll hit submit. Now you can see we have now two routing gateway which are assigned to different vendors. Let's go to routing gateway so we can see again. Okay, now yes, these are here. Okay, let me enable quality routing for both of them. For this customer, I want to send ACD of, for example, 6 minutes. Okay, if this route will provide me less than 6 minute ACD, we'll run these methods. Okay, here are the options that will be executed if the ACD is lower than 6. Sorry. Maintain logs only. Okay, like similarly we had option in customers mapping gateway, it only maintained the logs. Okay, now this time if I select this option, if current ACD is lower than 6, then the system will only maintain the logs. Next option we have send alerts. If the ACD is lower than current ACD, it will send logs to vendor and to the admin. Here you can enter the email address of your vendor and the admin, and you will receive the logs on daily basis. Auto change priority. Now this is the very fun part. If any of your routing gateway is giving you low ACD than defined value, then it will automatically change the priority. Okay, so with this example, let me select auto change priority, hit submit, and for this vendors and routing gateway I will add more. For this one I demand ASR to be at least 35%, and it will again auto change priority, hit submit. Now I will turn these option on. Now what will happen? After every 4 hours, system will execute run the rules, and if any of these vendors routing gateway defined values are lower or upper than minimum ACD or ASR, it will change the priority. Let's change the priority, for example, to test, I'll change this priority 5, and I will change this priority to 5 as well. Okay, now I'm going to pause this video and allow system to run, rules and change the priority accordingly. So I'm going to pause the video, then I'll start again. Okay, system has run the rule. Now, as per to my defined configuration on quality routing, ACD must be 6. The minimum ACD must be 6, otherwise it will change the priority. And for this routing gateway, the minimum ASR should be 35. Now we know this is just a test server, and the calls are being answered automatically by the duration of 50 seconds. Now we know we have set the ACD by 6, and the minimum ACD is higher than current. So this value should get lower. I mean, it will be get changed to 6, which according to the priority, it's a low priority. And ASR is is higher because all calls are being answered on the port server automatically. So we have probably 100% ASR right now. So now this time, this routing gateway ACD will be changed to 4. Okay, now let me refresh or go to routing gateway page once again, and we'll see if the settings have been changed. Okay, now we can see now the priority for this routing gateway has been changed to 6, and priority for this routing gateway has been automatically changed to 4. Now according to the priority rules, all calls should be connected via this routing gateway. Now to double check, we'll go to live calls and see what's happening there. Okay, we have connected 20 calls, and you can see all calls are being connected with this routing gateway because this routing gateway priority was 4, which is obviously higher than 6. If we'll go back to routing gateway, I mean I have shown you this part. All calls are being answered by this routing gateway. If I'll go back to routing gateway again, you can see the priority rules. This is the highest rule. I mean, the highest rule is 1. Okay, and it will go up to the lowest rule. So I'm going to pause this video. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me change the criteria for these routing gateways. Now this time I'll say I should receive 40% of ASR on this routing gateway. Now on both routing gateway, I am only checking ASR, since I know right now on this demo server ASR is 100% on both routing gateways. Now I'm going to pause this video for some time and allow system to run the rules, and then I'll start the video again. Okay, system has run the rules. Now let me refresh the page, but before refreshing the page, what values we should see on this priority? As per to our defined rules, we should have 40% of ASR minimum, and on second routing gateway we should get minimum ASR by 35%. Now we know for or both of these routing gateways ASR is 100%. So what values we want to see, this would be changed by 3 and this should be changed by 5. Now let's see by going again into routing gateway, or we can refresh the page to check it. Okay, you see now the ASR on the minimum ASR on both routing gateways is going good, so it increased the priority. Okay, now to make again priority number 3 is higher than 5, all calls should be going to this routing gateway. Again we have same routing gateway on top. Let's go back to routing gateway. Okay, now forcefully I'm going to change its priority to 7, let's say. Okay, now I have changed it forcefully. Now we know 5 priority is higher than 7. Now what we want to see, the calls should be passing to this gateway. Now let's go back to live calls and see. Okay, now we can see we have few calls which are all old calls which are connected to other routing gateway, and we have more calls on routing gateway which has higher priority. Now let me refresh this page. Okay, now here we are. We have all calls connected with gateway which has higher priority. So we have checked that the priority works with the higher rate, and we have tested with the running demo server. Now let me show you one more test of quality routing. I will pause the video and wait for system to run the test, run the rules once again, and I'll come back again. Just allow me some time. Okay, system has run the rules, and by current settings this should be changed to 6, because we know our ASR is higher than defined ASR, which is 35 on this routing gateway. And similarly we know for this routing gateway our current ASR is higher than current minimum ASR, which is 40. Now this should be changed to 6 and this should be changed to 4. Now let me refresh the page, and yes, it's working exactly the way it should work. The priority has increased by 1 step. When after 4 hours system will run the rule, again it will change the priority. After 4 hours again, when system will run the rules, again the priority will be changed to higher level. Since we know our ASR is higher than our minimum defined ASR, so this priority will be changed to 1 until we have matched quality rules. Once defined values will go to below the minimum ACD or ASR, the rules will be changed to 1, will be downgraded to 1 point. Okay, now system will also maintain the logs. We can check the logs by going to quality routing analysis. Now here we can see that on this date at this time the ASR was high, so the red sorry, the green arrow sign is indicating me that at this moment defined ASR was higher than current ASR. Similarly, we can see for this routing gateway we had selected to match with minimum ACD, and we know our minimum ACD is lower because there is a robot server which is answering the call by 50 seconds. Okay, and this red down arrow sign is indicating me that current ACD was lower than defined minimum ACD. Okay, and similarly we have these logs. Okay, here we can see every 4 hours routing analysis, like system will automatically run and calculate the routing rules after 4 hours. Okay, so we have seen quality rules of routing gateway. Okay, next we have edit option. I mean, you can simply edit all the basic information that we want to. Just close it. Let's go back to vendor. Okay, like I said in customers, I'm going to skip this part as well because web login is a detailed chapter which we will cover in next video. Now we have add balance option here. You can click here to add the balance, or you can click here to add the balance. Okay, next option is view balance history. Let's go there, and you can see we have all the payment history that we have added to this vendor. It's very simple. Let's go back to vendor. Next option we have is view vendor details. Here you can enter the personal information of your personal or company information of your vendor, contact, email, phone, fax, zip code, etc. Okay, I'll just close it. Next option and final option is delete the account. From here you can simply click and delete the account. So with on this video we have gone through detailed configuration of vendor, routing gateway, and quality rules, and we have seen how the priority get changed once system calculate the priority after 4 hours, and we have gone through the report analysis of quality routing. Okay, we have done this video. Now see you on next video session. Bye bye.